Welcome to Impolite MTG,
where we're going to talk about Magic the Gathering.
and we're not always going to be nice about it.
I'm Edgar Marcus.
And hey, I'm Dave, Guru of S'mores. Hey, Chris, got any cool ideas for decks you might want to build?
Well, actually, I just built one over Christmas that was on my list for a while there.
Oh, that's cool. Christmas is a great time to spend brewing. What deck was it?
I ended up brewing a Chroma and Rugrat, actually. I was going to brew Modrotha, but god, do I not know what to do with that thing.
Madrotha. She's one of my favorite decks that I own. I call her Booger Ladies Recycling Center. Link down in the description.
Have you had a commander like that? You just didn't know what to do with it?
Yeah, I actually did. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with Men's Beloved Ranger. I tried building that shortly after Adventures in the Forgotten Realms came out, and that deck can kind of pull and push in a couple of different ways. You can focus on the power matters, flinging type stuff. You can do this weird aristocrat style thing where you make your creature a 0/0 and it dies. You can do a bunch of different stuff with Men's that I didn't really appreciate at the face level of reading the card, but once I started brewing, I'm like, I really don't know what to do with this deck.
You want to talk about that one, or is there something else in mind?
No, I don't. I actually want to keep things in the realm of Sultai. I'm actually going to pick Arkalos for the deck that I would like to build, but probably won't.
That's interesting. Well, how about we get into this a little bit here?
Yeah, exactly. So me and Chris, we lined up a few questions for each other that kind of explained why Chris isn't going to build his deck and why I'm not going to build my deck. And so we'll just jump into it, and I'm going to ask Chris the first question.
All right.
Why are you struggling with this particular commander?
Basically, for me, Modrotha hits a lot of my preferred commander beat. It combos, generates value, obeys my deck building philosophy of interacting with the graveyard. It's just a really, really high value, generically good commander, which I'm a huge proponent of.
Yeah.
My problem, though, is it kind of takes you in 50 million different directions. There's combo versions of it, value versions of the deck. There's just simple recursion aspects of the deck.
Exactly.
I get overwhelmed with it. I tried to brew it right around the time it came out, and no idea which way to take it.
Yeah.
It overwhelmed me, and it frustrated me.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. And I can actually provide some insight into that because I actually own a Muldrotha deck, and I've owned her since Dominaria came out. So I've had her since, 2018?
2018 when they... Yeah.
Yeah, 2018, I believe, is when Dominaria came out. So I've had this deck for a very long time, and it's gone through a few iterations because I also have a Marin of Clan Neltoth deck. Now, I had the Marin deck prior to Muldrotha because, that commander existed before her, and I had the Precon. So I ended up in this weird space where it's like, crap, I have these two decks that basically want to do similar things. They want to recur stuff out of the graveyard. Marin does it just with creatures, whereas Muldrotha does it with everything that's a permanent type. But there was this period where it's like both decks wanted basically the same creatures, and then I was having this problem of like, okay, well, how do I distinguish Marin's identity from Muldrotha's? And then then Turgid came along, and I realized I was putting a lot of edict effects in Muldrotha, and then Turgid came along, and I'm like, you know what? I could pull out a bunch of these edict effects and spin that off into its own deck. And doing that kind of gave me some clarity, because even though Marin and Muldrotha were wanting to do similar things, what I ended up deciding to do is that Marin is going to have a token sub theme to her. Because she's focused on creatures. The idea there is I'm going to generate a bunch of tokens, sack all the tokens for the value, and that's going to get her experience counters, and that's going to bring back the non-token creatures for value, and then I'm kill my opponent's stuff, and that left Muldrotha. Well, what do I do with Muldrotha? I haven't gone full bore into this category, but I've added things like Helm of Obedience, and I've already got Leyline of the Void in there. But then I also added Dothy Voidwalker. And then I need to add a few more things to really push it into the combo range. And so, yeah, I think one of the things that can help with trying to figure out what a deck like that where it's very open-ended, one of the things you can do to try and figure out how to go in a direction of that is look at what your other decks are doing and maybe other close color pairings. Maybe you have a black-red deck or something like that that's maybe doing some aristocrat style stuff, so maybe don't play aristocrats find the niche that your other decks aren't operating in, and that can kind of point your compass in the right direction, because you can maybe go the opposite direction of what your other decks are doing.
Kind of the problem, because I tend to be a very combo-centric player, so, like, the combo builds are what I'm looking at mostly. And as far as aristocrats go, I have Beladros for aristocrat. I have both those aspects covered.
Well, then you could probably just go Simic Value Engine with black. Because, see, as a Simic player, I have this philosophy. There are only two kinds of decks. Simic decks and not Simic decks. And a Sultai deck is just Simic playing dirty.
I can't wait for Sushi to come out, because that thing is going to be mono red Simic. It's going to be great. Yeah, that's a future discussion, though. I plan on building that at some point. But going back to Muldrotha, like, I really love her as a concept. I like the value engine piece of her.
I can tell you from having one, yeah, dude, being able to just like drain the hope out of your opponent's eye because they're playing like a Voltron deck, and you've just got a Spore Frog sitting there, like, this fucker's, it's gonna come to your turn, and I'm just like, swing at one of them assholes, because you ain't getting through on me, because this Spore Frog is just like, nope.
Comes back every time.
Every time. Eldrazi Monument is stupid, because it's like, fuck this. All right, keep Eldrazi Monument back. This thing's back. Neato. And also, the fun synergy there is where you get to kind of cheat Muldrotha, because it says a permanent of each type. It's like, well, I'm going to play this creature, and then, oh, hey, look, an artifact creature. Yay, I get to play back two creatures because this one's an artifact. Yay.
And this third one's an enchantment. And look at that. I have color fixing because a Dryad of the Ilsean Grove. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun playing her. I really do. So I have about 20 decks that sit in my main case, and then I've got a bunch of decks that just don't really see play. Even of my main decks that I do carry with me to the LGS, Muldrotha is one of my favorites.
And this is kind of the thing. Like, I know when I finally find a build for it, I'll love the deck. The problem is finding the build.
Exactly.
It's just gotten to the point where, like, I don't have the desire to go there anymore.
Yeah.
But what about you? You mentioned Arkelos earlier. What about Arkelos do you not like?
It kind of worked out in an interesting way that when we decided to do this video and you picked Muldrotha, and I really sat down and I thought about it, I'm like, oh crap, the deck I actually want to build but probably won't is also a Sultai deck. How interesting that we both picked the same colors. I thought that was very fascinating, and it was just a nice turn of coincidence.
Yeah, I mean, like, I love Sultai as a color pairing. It's the three most powerful colors in Commander. This also kind of leads to being like one color pairing I don't really care about. But what particular is it? The archetype that Arkelos encourages you don't like, or is it something else?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because the problem the thing I like about Arkelos, and I think we should start there, is like, why would I not build him if I like the commander? I like the commander Arkelos. I like his ability where he can tap stuff, and then that affects like the tempo of your opponents. I like the idea I initially liked was how manipulative he could be. If you built the deck right, you have all these little untappers and tappers to just sit there and be able to just manipulate the situation, and that feels very Sultai. But the problem is,
total stack deck.
If you build this thing out to its, inevitable conclusion, even if you don't put the stacks pieces in the deck, it plays out like a stacks deck, because you're just tempoing your opponents, and you're saying, I'm going to play Magic, and you aren't. And I don't like that. So like we said, it's an accidental stacks deck.
It's interesting, though, because I've been looking at Arkelos as well, and the direction I wanted to take the deck was Arkelos as a Voltron commander.
Okay, how would that work?
Basically, you're designing the deck around, like, you're not looking for vigilance, because you want, whenever you attack in, to have the creatures your opponent might flash in, or the tokens they produce to, like, come and tap. So you're swinging in, and you're tapping it down, and then you're, like, using untap manipulation to kind of politic a little bit with it, but the main focus of the Voltron build would literally be to, like, beat this thing up and slow your opponent down as much as possible. Make sure their lands enter-tapped, make sure their artifacts enter-tapped, make sure their creatures enter-tapped, and just kind of, like, stall out their game. So when you do attack in for commander damage, it goes through every time.
Yeah. Part of that sounds interesting, where you can tap down the creatures and make sure you can get through damage. But yeah, the artifacts and the lands, then you're right back in stacks territory.
And that's exactly the problem. Like, no matter what you do, you're stacks.
Because I sat down with the deck, and sometimes one of the things I'll do is I'll go over to Archidect and just kind of monkey around. I call it window shopping, is what I personally call it, because it's like you add cards you build out a little list and just like kind of fish around with the idea. And then you're just like, no, I don't like this because this is super tempo-y and this is kind of stacksy. And I'm just like, nah. And I think the other thing is that the core component here is it goes against my personal play style. Because my personal play style, I don't prefer combo decks because that kind of goes against my play style as well. I will play combo decks. And like I said, I'm going to move Muldrotha more towards a combo style deck. But ultimately, I found that Archelos goes against my playstyle of like, I want everybody to have a fair shot at being able to win the game. I like games of Commander that feel like a bar brawl.
Yeah.
Where everybody's just beating the living shit out of each other. And then when you come out on top, that is the best fucking feeling.
So take this with a pinch of salt. I was just on EDH Rec checking at what archetypes Archelos is best known for.
Okay.
And we had this association with it being a stacks build. And you know, once again, pinch of salt, this is EDH Rec. The information is semi-accurate. It's not 100% accurate.
Yeah, it's aggregate information. Yeah, exactly.
Stacks isn't even in the top 5 for the deck because everyone sees it as a stacks commander. No one's building it that way.
Yeah.
Lands is number 1, vehicles 2, toughness 3, turtle tribal 4, and landfall is number 5. And it fascinates.
How many turtle? Now I want to see how many turtles are in Magic. That's hilarious. Yeah, you're right. I'm looking. Stacks is way down here underneath Pod and Snow. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird when you think about it, but like, what's your first thought when you see it? It's a stacks commander. Like, if you're building it the optimal way, it stacks 100%.
Yeah, and then we fall into what I have called the Narset paradox, which is it doesn't matter if you are building a commander like this in a non-toxic, oppressive way. It doesn't matter that your Atraxit deck is purely just, I want to do +1/+1 counters. There's like maybe 2 or 3 planeswalkers in the deck, and it's like Nissa, Voice of Zendikar, where like she's in there mainly just to put more counters on dudes. It's not a Super Friends deck. Doesn't matter that you're just trying to do that. People see Atraxit and are like, nope.
Exactly.
And I call it the Narset paradox because one of the OG like kill on sight commanders like, oh, that thing has to die. Narset Enlightened Master.
Anyways, there's 24 turtles in Sultai. So.
Okay, well there you go. These are the kind of things you learn when you hang out with Chris.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a nerd, guys. I'm sorry. This is kind of the thing, though. Like the archetype that we most associate with it isn't necessarily what EDH Rec is looking at it for. But the most optimal strategy is always playing it as a stacks deck.
Yeah. And just the idea of me tempoing out my opponents, because like the thing about Stacks is Stacks says, I'm going to play Magic and you're not going to play Magic. Archelos doesn't do exactly that. What he says is, I'm going to play Magic faster than you are going to play Magic. Because it doesn't stop you from playing Magic. It just slows you down. And to me, like, you can get into semantics. They're like, oh, you can still cast your spell. You just can't cast it as fast as you would like. The end result is that your opponents are going to sit there feeling frustrated that they can't play Magic as optimally as you can. And it's going to lead to the same kind of frustration.
Yeah.
It's going to be the same frustration.
100%. And like, I kind of want to like know, is like a part of this like desire not to build a deck also like related to newer commanders coming out that grab your attention more? Or is it seeing an old commander that just kind of like ignite something in you that you're more interested in at that point?
Well, what do you mean?
Well, okay. So for example, for me, I love the idea of the combo potential of Muldrotha.
Okay.
But currently, I'm fascinated by Brea as a commander. He's been out for what? 5 years now? 6 years?
Yeah, same because she came out with Atraxa, C16.
Yeah, exactly. So the build I'm looking at with her is an all the combos deck. Literally every single thing in the deck is based around a combo of some sort.
Yeah.
There's combos of find cards, combos that produce infinite mana. There's combos that win the game on the spot. There's combos that do both.
Yeah.
When I mentioned this earlier in the video, it's Sushi. When that thing comes out, that's going in this deck. Like, without a second thought, I'm dedicating 3 or 4 deck slots just for that combo.
Okay, so back up. Just because I'm dumb and Magic makes a billion trillion fucking products, that's the red dragon out of Kamigawa, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Right, okay. Just making sure, there's probably already 45 spoilers that have just, been released in the last, 15 minutes that we've been doing this podcast. So,
for sure,
just had to make sure.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That thing combos like people have already broken that thing with what was it? Astronaut's Altar?
Astronaut's Altar, Nim Death Mantle, and then that's all you need. Like, just so those 3 cards, you're set.
Yeah.
There's a turn 1 combo you can get with it where, like, you can literally win on turn 1. I'm not going to go into it. That requires a God Hand, and, that's like a 50,000 to 1 odd of actually, like...
I don't even entertain those kind of ideas. Like, if it's got to be if you can get it realistically on turn 2, I'm like, okay, I might consider that at some point, but, I'm just not a combo player, and it's just... Because it's like I said, it's my personal play style of just, I want an absolute bar fight and then come out as the winner of that bar fight.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like a bar fight with a ninja, though. I mean, you don't really see it coming until it's already happened.
Nah, that's just not as fun. Because it's just like this plus this plus this equals I win. And I'm like...
I mean this in the most insulting way possible, Dave, but you're such a fucking Timmy.
I am a Timmy. I'm a fucking Timmy at heart.
God, and you're proud of it. That's disgusting.
I'm like 75% Timmy, but there's like that 25% Johnny, where like I still want to play optimally. But when I play Tatyova, I'm very much like, okay, I got to sequence this, and okay, let's make sure we do this all right. And that's the Johnny part of my brain. Because the Timmy part is like, oh, let's just play the big thing and see what happens. No, there's a Johnny part of my brain where it's like, nope, sequencing matters. It's got to be the most efficient turn that I could possibly make. Tatyova taps into that 25% for me. But I will say, there is that 25%. So there is hope for me yet. And I am going to push Muldrotha into a combo deck. So there is hope for me.
I'm hoping, you eventually...
But I am a Timmy. Rudy would be so upset.
I'm still hoping that at some point you become a 50-50. I am very much Johnny first and Timmy second and Spike third, actually. I'm a little Spike.
I'm not very spiky. I kind of gave up on competitive play after Eldrazi Winter. That kind of dates myself. I Modern really tainted my taste for anything competitive Magic.
See, the thing though is, and this is a video for another day, but like being a Spike isn't inherent to like competitive formats. It's more so a mindset of trying to win as quick as possible or as frequently as possible. I mean, CEDH is a format for Spikes who like casual formats. That's what CEDH basically became.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a topic for another day. But so going back on track here, newer commander that grabbed your attention over Arkalos. Is there any?
Not really that works like Arkalos. It's like, oh, I'll play this because like you mentioned, you have Brea that kind of took what Muldrotha would have been and you made it Brea. No, for me, it's just I built other decks. Like I just recently built Quain, Itinerant Meddler.
That's a good deck, yeah.
Oh, Fluffy Bunny Man. I got to play it today, too, for the first time, and it did okay. We ended up having to end the game because it was a pre-pod game where, the store owner calls pods. We were playing beforehand, and he called pods. I'm like, okay, yeah, we don't want to make everybody else wait while we finish up our game, so we just scooped up right then and there. And it worked well. I think maybe... Now that I think about it, I think maybe Quain does kind of fit in that space where, this is the things I like about Quain, I liked about Arkalos. So yeah, I'm actually gonna revise my answer and say that Quain is my Arkalos substitute. It draws a bunch of cards. It does this interesting thing where it impacts the entire table, but it does, instead of doing it in a negative way, it does it in a positive way, and
it's like group hug, except you get like more benefit out of it. It's almost like communism.
Group hug, except there's a knife somewhere in the...
It's like communism, the way it works. Everyone's equal, but some people are more equal than others.
Yeah. It's like, and you're never going to get a straight answer out of anybody.
That's why I'm going to build a Kenrit deck around that concept at some point. Not important here.
Yeah, so Quain is cool because he's got this weird symmetrical ability because your opponents may draw a card and gain a life, or if they do draw a card, they gain a life. And then,
oh my god.
For me, the whole point of the deck is to break the parity on Quain. So Alhammer's Archive, and then payoff cards like Nadir Kraken, Chasm Skulker, stuff like that, where it's like, yeah, okay, even if you only draw one card with your opponents, it's like, okay, I'm going to draw a card. I'm also going to gain a life. My Nadir Kraken is going to trigger. I can pay 1, make a token. My Chasm Skulker is going to get a little bigger. Neato. My Johnny's Pride Mate is going to get a little bigger because I gained some life. Things on your side of the board are going to happen more because you activated Quain. And like I said, it kind of takes the idea of impacting the entire board and your opponents, but instead of impacting them on a negative vector, you're impacting them on a positive one, and then they don't feel like you're an asshole who's tapping all their shit down, and it's like, hey, who wants to draw cards and gain some life?
You know the really funny thing here?
What?
The two commanders we're talking about for you that are very similar to one another, but kind of also different, Arkelos and Quain.
They're both.
You realize
they're both animal people?
No, they're the tortoise and the hare.
Yeah, the tortoise and the hare, yeah.
You went from being the slowest one in the group to the quickest one, and still ended up with a very similar deck concept.
Sure, yeah, exactly.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Dave Foreman, apparently. He just likes to be a quick little bunny rabbit.
I like my fluffy little bunny man. He's cute, and he's friendly, and he wants everybody to draw some cards and have some fun, and then when nobody's looking, Mind Over Matter and the Temple Bell comes out, and then all of a sudden you have no deck. Like I said, it's like a group hug, except there's a knife involved.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I think that probably just about covers things, don't you think?
I certainly do at this point. I mean,
cool.
Yeah, we just found out that if Dave were a furry, he'd be a rabbit.
Okay. I mean, with the beard,
you're halfway there. You're already hairy.
I've been told I'm a goat, but I'm goat, a bear. There's a lot of options there, bud.
For the gay community, Dave isn't actually gay. He's not really a bear.
Oh no, but I've definitely been hit on by some bears. It's happened. I do live in California. Let's be honest.
All right.
And with that, I'm Dave, Guru of S'mores.
I'm Edgar Marchrist.
Thank you for spending some time with us.
And thanks for watching. Good night, everybody.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah, Dave, what's going on, buddy?
What do you call it when a sea monster is a drug addict?
I don't know. What do you call it?
Nadir Crackhead.
Oh, that poor Kraken.
Yeah, Crackhead, Bass has been slinging some dope around the ocean.
He suffered enough. Do you have to make fun of his drug habit?
Yeah, I know. Poor guy.
Fuck.